Bonjour mon petit shifter, Amber here, and I have said the same sentence in various formats in like so many videos right now. Sorry, I just kicked that. But we are approaching the final days of 2019. We are approaching the final days of the 2010s. We are about to burst gloriously into the 2020s. So now is the time of the year where all of us on the Bookternet just kind of sit down and recap and share our favorite books of the year, our least favorite books of the year, books we're hoping to read in the new year, yada yada yada. I've said this like about 4 different times now. But today, right now, I am going to share with you my favorite books of the year. Usually I do this book all in one. I'll do my favorite reads, like 5 or 6 favorite reads of the year, 5 of the worst reads of the year, and like then I'll do maybe 5 or 6 books that I hope to read in the new year. But this year I am just doing a bunch of separate videos, and I'm gonna regret it when it's time to edit them. But anyway, so I'm not gonna talk too much because this is a hefty list. I read a lot of really good books this year. So for the first part of this book, I'm just going to tell you my favorites in general, and then for the second half I just kind of wanted to give a little bit more love to some books, and I have some categories that I think they fall into. I'm not going to explain it right, but anyway, let's just jump into my general favorites of the whole year. So starting with a book by one of my favorite authors. I read the first book in her first series this year. Actually, she is on this list twice. And that book is Something Strange and Deadly by Susan Dennard, who is the author of the Witchlands series, which you all know that is one of my favorite series. It's like my favorite series that's like currently going on right now. But I read Something Strange and Deadly, which is her first book from her first series, and I loved it. I'm not surprised. I love Susan's writing. She's also a pretty rad person. This book is like a steampunk book set like at the turn of the century in like the 1800s in Philadelphia. So I'm already in it. I'm already in. If you set a book in my city, I'm 9 times out of 10 gonna love it, just because I'm biased. But this follows our main character, Eleanor, I believe that's her name. She is part of this formerly esteemed family that's fallen on hard times. Her mother is trying to procure a marriage for her that'll put them back in high society, basically. And at the same time, the dead are rising in Philadelphia. Her brother has gone missing, and she teams up with these ghost hunters, basically. They are a team that takes out the zombies. Wondering, what are they called? I don't remember what they're called, but they are working to figure out who is controlling the dead who are wandering around and wreaking havoc in Philly. But anyway, I'm not describing the book well. I loved it. Like I said, I'm not surprised at all. I love Susan's writing. I love her world building. I love the complex characters she writes, and this is no different. I am excited to continue the series in 2020. It's also great to hold myself over into the next Witchlands book, which I'm so excited for because the next one is Isolde's story, and she's one of my faves. I mean, they're all my faves if I'm being honest, but anyway, love that book. Next, I will mention an audiobook that I listened to towards the beginning of the year and am obsessed with, and it's Sadie by Courtney Summers. Everybody was raving about this book, and the story follows Sadie, who is on a quest basically to find the person who murdered her little sister. And it's also told through the point of view of this, I think he's a DJ, oh no, he has a podcast, and he's been following the story. And so he's telling, like, he's following after Sadie, so everything he's telling is like a story of the people who have encountered Sadie and like things that have happened after she's come through and encountered them. I'm so bad at describing books, but I will link all of the synopses below. But I loved the audiobook for this, and one, it has a full cast. It's a full cast audiobook. The story, there are background effects and everything, and it's just so fully immersive and just makes the whole thing an experience. And the audiobook's so good that like I don't even care to read the physical version, the physical copy of the book. Usually I'll listen to an audiobook like, oh, I like to read this physically, because sometimes I just like prefer to hear the characters and like the voice I've given them. But like, this is just the best audiobook I think I've ever listened to. Our next book on this list is a super underrated one, and finally I can start holding up books. I haven't heard a ton of people talk about this book, but the few people I have loved it, like me. And I actually just read this, I think I read it last month in November. I buddy read this with my friend Christy, who I met at Booknet Fest, and it's House of Salt and Sorrows by Aaron A. Craig. This smells like one of my Owl Crate book boxes. This is a retelling of sorts of the 12 Dancing Princesses, which is a story I've always loved. And also, I love a retelling. This follows Annalee, who was one of 12 sisters. At the start of the book, I think 2 or 3 of them have already died, and the island that they live on believes that her family is cursed. They've also lost their mother. They are the daughter of, I think he's a duke. Like I said, their island believes their family is cursed. Annalee, however, is starting to believe that her sisters are being murdered, and she is determined to find out who's behind it. At the same time, she and her sisters, because they want to be out of this grieving period that they've seemed to have been in for such a long time, also at the request of their stepmother, to be out of this grieving period, they start sneaking off to these balls through this secret portal. There's a lot going on in this book, and it's very like dark, and just like, I saved this book when I got it. I received it, I don't remember, in the summer I think, but I knew I wanted to read it like towards fall, towards the end of fall, beginning of winter, when it was just like cold and just like you snuggle up. And that was the perfect time to read the book. There's mystery, there's murder, there's dancing, there's ghosts, there are gods and demigods. It's not just a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling. There is a whole like nod to Edgar Allan Poe, to Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe, which was always one of my favorite pieces of Poe's works. I was really obsessed with it when I was like in middle school, elementary school. And there's also like a Rosemary's Baby-esque twist. There's just so many elements to this book, and I just really enjoyed my time reading it. I felt like, I mean, there were some things that I saw coming, but like also the way they happened wasn't what I was expecting. There's just always something going on where you're just like, what is happening right now? I don't understand anything, but I really love this book, and I feel like I'd pick up anything that Aaron A. Craig writes just based on this one book that I read. So next we're gonna go with another retelling, and I have no idea where my copy of this book is. I have an idea, but I'm not gonna go get it. In 2020, my life goal is to have an actual bookcase. But anyway, that book is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kimmerer, which is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. This book follows Harper and Wren. Harper is just like a normal girl living in Washington, D.C. She is living basically with her brother. They are taking care of each other. Their mother's dying. Their father is not in the picture. And her brother is in some sort of trouble. While she is waiting to meet up with him, she tries to save a stranger and ends up being kidnapped and whisked off to the enchanted land of Emberfall, where she meets our other main character, Prince Wren, who is the Beast character in this story. He has been cursed to relive the autumn of his 18th year until he manages to get a girl to fall in love with him before he turns into a beast and kills everyone around him, which he has done since his 18th birthday. I love this story. I don't need to say it again, but I love a retelling, so I'm gonna say it again. I love Beauty and the Beast. But this is definitely not, it's not your Disney's Beauty and the Beast. I love Harper so much. She's such like this strong character. She doesn't let the fact that I mentioned that she also lives with cerebral palsy, but she doesn't let that hold her back. It's actually like a point in the book that she makes it clear to Rain and like anybody that asks, that she lives with this, but that doesn't mean she's broken. That doesn't mean she's not capable. I just love Ren. I love Gray so much, and I cannot wait for book 2 to have more of him and more of his story. That's my baby. That's my cinnamon roll. That's my cinnamon apple, and I will ride or die for him. I also really like Ren. He is a complex character, but I'm interested to see how he continues to grow and develop in book 2. But I love the three of them, their dynamic between the three of them. There's like a little twist at the end. I kind of pieced it together, but I'm still excited that I was right, because it makes sense, because I had another idea, but it also makes sense. I'm trying not to spoil anything, but I love the story. I love the world of Emberfall. I love the characters so much. I think my love for the characters is what's really driving my love for the books. I can't wait for the next story. Like, things are taking off, stakes are higher, and I can't wait to see how things play out with our Princess of DC and King, now I guess, of Emberfall. Oh my goodness, I just realized while my battery was charging, I just realized that Harper, Ren, and Gray remind me of Mary, Frances, and Bash from Rain. And honestly, when I think about it, in more ways than one. My babies. I desperately need to re-watch Rain, because that's one of my favorite shows. Anywho, so now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. The next book is a book that has a little bit of controversy surrounding it, but I love this book. So this is another one that you either love or hate. I loved it, and it's Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. First of all, this cover, I love this so much. Okay, let me get comfy. This book follows our main characters, Lou and Reed. Lou LeBlanc is a witch. She is a witch in hiding. She has left her run away from her coven, and she is in hiding because her life is in danger, not just from the fact that witches are being slaughtered and burned at the stake by the church and the royal chasseurs, or holy chasseurs, whatever they're called, the chasseurs. Speaking of which, our other main character, Reed, is a chasseur. He is a captain, I believe. He is a high-ranking witch killer. Some hijinks happen, and the two of them end up having to be bound in holy matrimony, a witch and a witch hunter being married. And this is the story of their relationship, Lou hiding her identity, Reed coming to terms with his new life, because the fact that he now has to be married is kind of like uprooted and changed the order of his life, because the chasseurs take a vow of like celibacy or something like that. So I loved this book. I loved Lou and Reed so much. I love Lou so much. She's so funny and so like snarky, and I love every minute of it. I also love Reed a lot. He is confirmed to be a Virgo, and when I read that in Shelby's story, everything kind of made sense. But I love the banter between them. I love their relationship, how it's not really like easy. Yeah, they are married, and yeah, it can be assumed that things get a little easier, if you catch my drift. But I don't know, it's just the constant back and forth bickering is just, I love it. I love Coco and Ansel. Ansel is my sweet baby, and if he gets hurt, we're gonna have an issue, Shelby. That's all I have to say. I just really liked being in the relationship. Another thing I really appreciated, this is a topic a lot of people kind of questioned whether this is YA, because there is a steamy scene in this book between Lou and Reed. That's not really spoiling anything, they're married. But one, I appreciate the fact that for once it's the guy that's the awkward virgin and the girl's like the more experienced, like let me show you the ropes, kiddo. But also, like, teenagers have sex, okay? So I think that one, it wasn't like overly explicit or anything. No parts were mentioned by name. So I also think it's really important for teenagers and young adult readers to read about healthy consensual sexual relationships. A lot of times they can be toxic in books, also YA books. Yeah, so like, come on. I just really loved this book. I loved the story, I love the world, I love like how it's a very French influenced world. We know. Bonjour mon petit chevalier. I know there are issues with the book. I'm not saying by far at all that it's perfect. I'm sure the issues with the book are very valid, but for me, first of all, my judgment of books isn't always on a technical, I can't think of the word, like critical point of view. It's just what I feel when I read the book, and I just really enjoy my time in this book, in this world, and I cannot wait for Blood and Honey. I'm expecting a crap ton more of Coco, a crap ton more of Ansel, and going into Blood and Honey, I would love for more of the actual world outside of Lou and Reed, more of the characters outside of Lou and Reed, more look into the magic systems and the witchery, I guess, in the book. Then my babies. I do have, since we're here, let's do a little self promo. I do have 2 Serpent and Dove candles that are going up on the shop very soon. I'm just waiting for labels. I love this book, clearly. Okay, so next. Alright, we're getting in the thick of things. So the next is another debut novel that I read right around the same time. I think I read it like right after I read Serpent and Dove, and I absolutely love this book. Whew. Kingdom of Souls by Rena Barron. First of all, I'm still not over this cover. This is beautiful. Why do all my books smell like my Caravel box? Anyway, this book follows Era, who comes from a line of powerful witch doctors. She, however, has no magic. And this is basically the story of what happens when the children in the kingdom start going missing, and she basically does whatever it takes to acquire magic and figure out who it is that is taking children and bringing all of this destruction to the kingdom. And then she finds out, and that's the big old twist. And then the story also like takes a turn from there. This is another one where there's like a lot happening. There's like the witchcraft, there are the Orisha, there's like a sort of like, without spoiling too much, like a reincarnation sort of storyline. And I just ooh, this book was a wild ride, and I just loved every single moment of it. I loved Ara as a character. I loved the other characters surrounding her. I'm not typically, I can't say that. I prefer an enemies to lovers to a friends to lovers type scenario, but I do really love her relationship with Reject. I love their friends. There's just so many elements to this story, and it's done so well. I am here for, once again, all this black girl magic, and I just know that book 2 is going to wreck me. It's going to be a wild ride. I'm not ready. I'm ready, but I'm not ready. I just have so many thoughts and feelings about this book. And then like book 2, we get more of like the Demon King. I didn't mention him, but like that's also another element, and I'm so curious to see how all that plays out. I'm already shook. Oh my god, I loved this book so much. I knew I was gonna love it going into it, just the premise alone, and I just had high hopes. I just felt it in my spirit that this book was going to be everything. This book was everything. We're just gonna keep with the black girl magic, and the next book is a sequel that I just finished a couple weeks ago, and it is Children of Virtue and Vengeance by Tomi Adeyemi, the sequel to Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, which I believe was my #1 book last year, 2018. Yeah, y'all know how I feel about the series and just Tomi and everything, and this was my most anticipated book of the whole year. Y'all know, like, your girl is tatted. She's the elder of the seers. Tomi's words, not mine. But this book, There's a whole vlog of me reading my whole experience getting the book, going to the launch, and like reading the book. I'll link it. Y'all, when I tell you I spent majority of this book either screaming or crying, I am not exaggerating. I was so stressed out for the entirety of this book. And literally, when I finished reading Children of Blood and Bone, I was just like vaguely annoyed with, you know, Ian, and just, I was like, their relationship, I could do without it. Like, if I'm being honest, the little prince can catch these hands. But now, I'm like, literally everybody but Zaylee and Rowan can choke, okay? Everybody's dead to me. The people who are actually dead, I wish they weren't. I would trade them for some of the people in this book. I'm just being honest. My heart hurts. I cried. There are so many tears shed over this book. And then the ending, without spoiling anything too much, but if you read the book, if you know, you know, all I'm gonna say is this was my literal reaction when I read the last paragraph of the sentence. What in the transatlantic slave trade is going on right now? I don't know when book 3 comes out, but I'm gonna be stressed about it until it does. I think because I just finished reading it earlier this month, I'm still real touchy about it. I couldn't read another book. I couldn't read another fantasy book until very recently, if I'm being honest. I just finished reading Shadow of the Fox, and I think that was the first fantasy. I've read like some arcs, so adult romance arcs in between, but that was like the first fantasy book that I could read after this, because I just needed to recover. I needed that much time to recover from this book and the story, and also because I re-listened to CBB to brush up, so I went right from CBB into CBB, and I just, Lord Jesus God, look at all these tabs. Look at all these tabs. There's still a lot of questions I have, a lot of things that have to be answered in book 3. I mean, they have to, because book 3 is the last book. I don't know what I'm going to do after these books are over. Bless. I know people are hit or miss with CBB, but I don't care. I didn't ask your opinion. Okay. So sticking with sequels, we have, well, it's technically not a sequel. It's the 3rd book in a series, but it is a follow-up book. Another series that I love so much. I told you author was here listed twice. Another one that is severely tabbed, and it is Blood Witch by Susan Dennard, which is the 3rd book in the Witchland series, which is like my current favorite series. Okay, I don't know how to properly describe these books because there's so much going on. The first book in the series is Truth Witch, and that book follows Sophia and Isolde. They are thread sisters. This is a world that has all types of witchery, like elemental magic. Anyway, follow Sophie and Isolde. They are thread sisters, like I said. In the beginning of the book, they get into all types of shenanigans, and then Sophie is basically, she escapes this arranged marriage and is sent to, oh Jesus, I don't know how to describe this book. The book's set in a world where there are all types of witchery. Their country is on the brink of war. Sophie and Isolde basically sort of team up with Prince Merrick, who is desperate to get food into his country. The continent, I should have said, is on the brink of war. Long story short, this is the 3rd book in this series. This is Aduin's story, who is the Blood Witch, as the title implies. Also the love of my life. I probably have said that about several other characters recently. Here he is. I love Aduin so much. I love his story. I love his relationship with Isolde. There's so much about these books that I just absolutely love. The world, like I said before, Susan's world building is incredible. Her characters are also complex and real feeling, and just, I don't know when book 4 comes out, but I can't wait. This book was such an emotional roller coaster. So I know the next one's gonna wreck me. The next one is Isolde's story. First one was like Sophie was like the main character. The second one, Merrick, in which Merrick was like the main character. So now we have Bedouin, and then we have Iz, and I don't know how many more books we have, but I'm gonna be wrecked when this series is over. I just love these books so much. I love Susan's writing. Her Luminaries Choose Your Own Adventure Twitter thing was the highlight of my life for months. I woke up every single morning excited to see what Wednesday was when he was getting up to. But I have feelings. So before my camera dies again, let's talk about my #1 favorite read of the year before we go into some other technicalities. This book, I have not shut up about it. I am wearing my little sweatshirt from Fake Crate that is from this book, inspired by this book. It's We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal. So from the moment that I read the opening lines and the kind of like taglines of the book, the people lived because she killed, people died because he lived, I knew that this book was going to be everything. So this book follows Zafira, the huntress, and Nasir, the Prince of Death. They are both well known and like revered and or feared in their kingdom. Zafira disguises herself as a man and traverses into the cursed Ars to provide for her people, while Nasir is the son of the Sultan, assassin prince who kills people for his father. I just said that. Both of them end up on the island of Shar. Zafira is there on a quest to find the magical artifact that will bring magic back to their land, whereas Nasir is there to hunt down the hunter, kill Zafira, and take the artifact for his father. This follows them and the entire Zumra of characters who I absolutely love so much on their quest. And like I just love this book so much. The world is so lush and just well written, and the characters are just so complex, and I love them all so much. They are, oh my god, Hafsa is such an amazing writer, especially for like a debut novel. Ma'am, book 2 is gonna destroy my life. This is a duology, so I don't know how I'm gonna survive July. Is it July? I believe it's July. This book, I have not shut up about this book. I read this in May and I have not shut up about it. Every time someone's like, what should I read? I'm like, if you don't read We Hunt the Flame, don't ever speak to me again, period. I'm actually currently, by the time you watch this, it will be over, but I'm currently running a giveaway of We Hunt the Flame on my Bookstagram. I have four candles inspired by this book on my Etsy. So like, I am wearing this sweatshirt. I just love this book. I love Zafira. I love Nasir. I love Altair. That's my boy. That's my man's, you know? And after the way, I say this about every sequel, after the way book 1 ended, Hafsa, I'm watching you. You've been warned. I got to meet Hafsa back in May, and she's lovely. I'm proud of her. I'm so proud of her. And it's like all she's been accomplishing. And just read We Hunt the Flame. Thank me later. Also, pre-order We Free the Stars. Okay, so now we're going into the second part, which is the part where I just kind of wanted to talk about a few more books that I loved. And I didn't want to just have just like a list. I didn't just want to do a list. I kind of wanted to give each one sort of like a category, so it kind of explains why I loved. I don't know what I'm saying, but it's implied that the books already mentioned, if they meet the criteria, are like the top one. But anyway, I'm just gonna stop talking because my battery's gonna die soon. I'm not really gonna go into synopses. I'm just gonna tell you what I liked and why I loved it. So the best sequel that I read this year that was not Children of Virtue and Vengeance or Blood Witch. Okay, this isn't the book. This is the final book in the series. I grabbed the wrong one, but I'm talking about Hunting Prince Dracula by Carrie Maniscalco, not Capturing the Devil, which is the final book. Hunting Prince Dracula, we follow Audrey, Rose, and Thomas after the events of the first book to Romania, which is such a new exciting environment. I loved being in Romania. I loved being in the school and the competition that they were in. I felt like I was really able to really get a feel of the characters and really start attaching to them. We've really figured out how, like, what makes Thomas tick. I love Thomas Cresswell. Reading the book, finished it and was like, oh, I want to learn Romanian now. I have not started studying Romanian, but I have downloaded it on Duolingo. I have so many other languages that I'm studying right now. Not so many, it's like 4 other ones, 3, 4, whatever, alternates depending on my mood. French, obviously, always. Italian, German. I've also started Portuguese, now Romanian. So anyway, but I just really loved it, and this was really the catalyst of me finishing the rest of the series. So the best standalone that wasn't like one of the ones already mentioned, there are 2 for that one for me. The first one is The Candle and the Flame by Nafisa Azad, which no one seems to be talking about for some bizarre reason. I loved this book so much. I loved like the magical elements. I loved the way grief was discussed in the book. I loved the characters. And also With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I read both of her books this year. Oh, I just love the book. I already mentioned earlier, if you said a book in Philly, I'm gonna love it. And the book was just so Philly and just felt like home to me. I loved the characters. I loved their relationships and like the communication between them. I loved the setting, obviously. I loved the food aspect. That I will literally read anything that Elizabeth Acevedo writes. So the best conclusion of a series for me was 5 Dark Fates by Kendara Blake. This went from 0 to 100 so fast, and I still have a ton of questions about the series. There are some things that are left unanswered, some ends left untied, but I felt like this was such a solid ending. I feel like everyone kind of got a conclusion. For the most part, all of the sisters were sort of taken care of. There's a conclusion for Finburn. And I just after the roller coaster that was me reading this book and getting into this series, I was very satisfied with the ending. It was wild. It was a wild ride, and Brittany from Ellen and Eclectic and I had a nice long talk about it. So the biggest surprise for me was actually like the genre in general. It was like adult contemporary romance. This is the year I really tiptoed into the pool, kind of dove in and got into it, and 2 in particular. One was Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey. This is the only physical copy that I have. I loved this book. This was cute and fun, and I just enjoyed it. It was very spicy, and I really, majority of the Tessa Bailey books I've read I really like. And also one I just read this month was A Prince on Paper by Alyssa Cole. I loved that book. That book, I would read that over and over again, and I need to read the rest of the books in the Reluctant Royal series. I'm obsessed. Those characters, their relationship, just the whole, I loved it so much. I felt like there was like depth with them that I seem to be lacking sometimes with adult contemporary romance. Okay, shout out to my mom for letting me use her phone for the rest of this. Where was I? I feel like Alyssa Cole could definitely be considered my new favorite contemporary adult romance writer. Is that how you say that? I don't know. Okay, so the best audiobook that I listened to this year, I've already mentioned. It was Sadie. I already talked about it. Best audiobook I've ever listened to in my life. The full cast was incredible. It was so fully immersive, which really made me get into the story. Sometimes I have like a weird time listening to audiobooks. There's like a disconnect and I'll like zone out. But I never had an issue getting into the audiobook and following the story. The next category for me is most underrated book that I read this year, and I have two books that I don't see getting enough love. The first one is Odd One Out by Nick Stone. This was like a real love triangle in this book. It wasn't like one of those, it's basically like a love arrow where it's just 2 people in love with the main character and she has to choose, or they have to choose which person they like more. This was like a real complex, complicated relationship that needed to be figured out, and I think it was well done. I enjoy Nick Stone's, I love Nick Stone's writing. I think she's a rad person. I need to read Jackpot. and I think she has another book coming out in 2020. I know the Shuri book comes out in 2020, so I'm definitely gonna pick that up. And the other one is The Tiger at Midnight by Swati Teerdala. It smells really good for some reason. I haven't seen a single person talk about this book, but I really enjoyed it, and I'm really excited for book 2 that comes out in 2020. I love both characters. I loved Esha as a character. I like their dynamic. I am really curious to see what happens next. I like the mythology intertwined in it and the setting. I like that. I think what I said was like that it's kind of flipped, where it's not like the stereotypical good girl and like the guy with like the more like twisted, darker past and personality. This one's definitely flipped, and Esha's like the more problemed one, I'll say. Really enjoyed this book. I wish more people would pick it up and read it. I love the cover. I'm so excited for book 2. I do like the budding romance in the book, and I like that we didn't just jump right into it. I mean, there's like the attraction between them, but I feel like book 2 might allow them to actually feel all the feelings, you know? And then the last category for this is my new favorite author. So I have 2. The first one I already mentioned is Elizabeth Acevedo. I mentioned I will read anything that she writes. I read 2 of her books this year, and I am obsessed. And of course, no surprise to anyone, Hafsa Faizal, author of We Hunt the Flame and We Free the Stars. Pre-order it. I really just fell in love with We Hunt the Flame, and just like the whole world that it's set in, all of the characters. It's top tier. It's chef's kiss. And I just really like Hafsa as a person also. I did it after so many complications with my camera and battery. We made it through my top books of 2019. Bless the Lord. Let me know what your favorite books, whatever, authors of 2019 were. Let me know what books you're looking forward to reading in 2020. Thank you for watching. If you made it through this, you are a trooper. Thank you. I would say this now also. Thank you for like supporting my channel throughout the year. If you're new, hello, I appreciate you too. If you have been subscribed for a while, it means a lot. That tone would imply otherwise. It means a lot. It does. At the beginning of this year, I was still at like 200 and something subscribers, and I never thought I would get to 300 subscribers, and now I'm almost at 500 subscribers, which doesn't seem like a lot to people, but that is a lot to me, because I've been like on YouTube since like 2014. So I think I finally like found my thing, and I enjoy talking about books with y'all. I mean, in 2020, I probably will incorporate some other things, go back to how like it was, not solely, it's still going to be mostly book 2, but I do want to get back to like doing some makeup-y bits. I know I want to do more travel-y videos. I do have a second channel devoted to like more aesthetic travel-y videos if you'd like to check it out. I have 2 subscribers, and I think they're me and my mom, but let me know what you like to see on this channel. Anyway, thank you for watching again. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like me, feel free to subscribe. All my places are down below so you can follow me, and I'll follow you back, and I'll see you very soon.